A lot of interesting stuff. Okay. Today's daf is Masechta Sanhedrin Daf Mem Beis 42, and we're going to start from Mem Aleph Amid Beis. Let's start from the green. It's by the two dots basically, and that leads us into the discussion about Kiddush Chayde, about Kiddush Levana. So I said Kiddush Chayde, Kiddush Levana. It's one page in the Gemara that deals with it, and it's a fascinating topic. So the Gemara says like this. We learned that in the Mishnah that what would not disqualify two witnesses, if one said that the murder happened on day 4 and one said it happened on day 5, the Mishnah says that we don't disqualify because it's possible that one did not hear about the Ibra Chodesh, that the previous month had 30 days, and therefore he's off by a day, so therefore he thought it had 29 days, so therefore he counted an extra day for this month. So he's not clear on when the previous month ended. So if each witness is off by a day, we don't consider them eidim that are contradicting each other. So Amar Abach ad kama. So the Gemara asks the question: for how long? I mean, when can you expect that a person should know what day of the month it is? Like if I asked you today, you probably would say it's what day of the month? It's Chav Tes Tevis tonight. So, but when do you expect the person to know? And therefore, if the eidim argue with each other, that means they are false eidim, that will disqualify them. Amar Abacha bar Chanina, Amar Abasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, ad rubai shel chodesh, until most of the month. Let's say one person said that murder happened on day 20 of the month, and the one said it happened on day 21, so then we'll disqualify the witnesses, because by that time of the month, we expect everyone to know what day of the month it is. Amar Rabba said, we learned that in a Mishnah. A Mishnah said, if one said it's the 3rd of the month, and one witness said it happened on the 5th of the month, Edusim Betela. So they're off by 2 days. They're disqualified witnesses, says the Gemara Ba'amai. Why would the Mishnah disqualify them? Nema he didn't know about what happened the previous 2 months, so he's off by 2 days. Let's say the previous 2 months was 29, and he thought it was 30, and he thought each of the past 2 months was 29 days. So therefore he's off because he's off by 2 days. And this one knew about it. One witness knew about it. So why should we disqualify them? Alav mishum de beruba yada. We expect people to know when the most of the month passed, what day of the month it is. So even though, in the beginning of the month, you're not sure, by the time the 15th day of the month comes around, you should know exactly what day of the month it is. So that could be a proof from our Mishnah. So the Gemara says, I will tell you, beruba namela yada. When a person when most of the month passed, so then I could say a person doesn't know because he didn't pay attention to when the month began. So one aide said it happened on the 20th day, and one witness said it happened on the 21st day. Ubishipura yada, but he knows, a person knows that on Rosh Chodesh, when they announce the month, they always blow a shofar in the city. Everybody they used to blow a shofar. So therefore, we can assume if with one to be off by 2 days, it's possible. It's only because you didn't know when 2 Rosh Chodeshes happened. So I would say you don't make such a mistake. A person can miss when the last month Rosh Chodesh, the month that we're in, when Rosh Chodesh started. But I wouldn't know when 2 months ago when Rosh Chodesh started. I would miss 1 shofar, but not 2 shofars. So definitely, I would know what day of the month it is, and I would not be off by 2 days when one witness says the 3rd day and one witness says the 5th day. Obviously, they're disqualified witnesses. But it could be, says the Gemara, that if they're off by 1 day, no matter when in the month they're saying the event happened, they'll still be kosher eidim. Okay, new Gemara. The Amar Rab Acha bar Chanina, Amar Rab Asa, Amar Rab Yochanan. Okay, that's why we bring this in. We're going to say like this: At kama mavarchan al chodesh. How long do you have till to bench to say Kiddush Lavana? At shetismali pigimasa, until the moon fills up its deficiency. The kama, how much of the month is that? Amar Rab Acha bar Ida, Amar Rab Yehuda, at shiva. Until the 7th of the month, you have time to say Kiddush Lavana, not more than that. We don't paskin like that. Neherdoi Amri at Shisha, so you have time till the 6th of the 16th of the month. Vitarvayu, they're arguing Rabbi Yochanan. Both of them, we go to Membezim and Aleph, both of them hold that, like Rabbi Yochanan said, that we make the Kiddush Lavana as long as the moon was filling up its deficiency. You see, the moon grows during the first 15 days of the month. The first mandiyam that he says that you have until the 7th of the month, L'mehevek Yisro, you want the moon to look like a bow with strings, so it's like a half a circle. But the other man, the Yama said, Rabbi Yochanan meant to say that until it completes its entire deficiency, which is the 15th of the month, and therefore we generally try to do it as earlier as possible, to do it even before 7th, because that's there's opinion that you should do it before the 7th, but sometimes some opinions hold that during, let's say, Tisha B'Av, during the month of Tishrei and Av, we push it off till after Tisha B'Av or after Yom Kippur. But some hold not so. So it all depends. Amalei Rav Acha medifti l'Ravina. Rav Acha from Difti sent to Ravina. V'livrach hatayva meitiv. Why don't we make a bracha hatayva meitiv? It's such a beautiful thing as the moon is growing and growing and completing and fulfilling it's growing and making up for its deficiency for Amalei. So Ravina answered, because you want to say it's a good thing in the beginning of the month, then when the moon gets smaller, you should make Daina Emes because that's a bad thing. So we don't make a bracha Daina Emes, so that's why we don't make Hatayva Meitiv. So the Gemara asks, beautiful question. Let's make a bracha Hatayva Meitiv in the beginning of the month, and we should make a Daina Emes as the moon gets smaller. The Gemara says that we don't do. Since that's the normal way, the path of the moon, it grows in the beginning of the month and then shrinks towards from the 15th and onward. We don't make a bracha. But this bracha that we do make is Mekadesh Chadashim, is more like a bracha about nature, about the Jewish people, which we're going to discuss in a minute. Kol hamavorech al chodesh bizmanai. If you make Kiddush Lavana, is ki'ilu makabel pnei shchina. It's as if you're greeting the presence of the Eibishter. It's like it's a time that you go outside and you look at the sky. There's some feeling of the presence of God there, and he has a pasuk ksiv hacha chodesh hazeh, which is this week's parsha, by the way. Hachodesh hazeh lechem. Uksiv hasam zeh keli banveyu. So this zeh and zeh chodesh, it has to do with the new moon, and just like zeh keli banveyu, by the shira they pointed that this was our God, the presence of God. So when you're out there looking at the moon and making the bracha, it's as if you're greeting the presence of God. It's a higher level. So normally, when you say a bracha, you don't have to stand. But Tanid Bei Rabbi Shmuel, ilimoli zochi l'Yisrael al hakol pnei avinu sheb'shmayim kol chodesh v'chodesh dayam. If this was the only chance for a Jewish person to greet God is when you say Kiddush Lavana, that would have been enough. Of course, we have other opportunities during the month when you learn Torah, you're greeting God. But if just the fact that we have this set pattern of making this Kiddush Lavana, that is so special. That would have been enough. If we just greeted God once a month, that would have been enough for us, because the feelings that you get. That's why you have to make this bracha standing. Who was weak and they couldn't get on their feet, they would have somebody lift them by their shoulders, hold them up, so to speak, like under the armpits, so that they can make the bracha standing. So careful were they to make this bracha standing. Amalei Rav Acha Rav Ashi. Rav Acha said to Rav Ashi, in Eretz Yisrael, the whole bracha of Kiddush Halavana was Baruch Mechadash Chadashim. We bless God for making the new months. Amalei. So Rav Ashi said to Rav Acha, Hai Nashi Didan Nami Vrachi. That Nashi means women also make such a small bracha. It's not appropriate. We have to, go all out and come up with a bracha that is more befitting for this great mitzvah of Kiddush Levana. So, and although he used the expression women are make such a bracha, but women don't make such a bracha. They're potter from Kiddush Levana. I've never seen women make Kiddush Levana. But anyway, Elik to Rav Yehuda. We use the version of Rav Yehuda's version of what the bracha of Kiddush Levana is. The Amar Rav Yehuda, the Rav Yehuda said, you make a bracha, Baruch, you say to God, blessed. Asher b'morei bara shchakim. With just the words of his mouth, he created the skies. Uvruach piv kol tzavam. And when he blows with his mouth, he, pushes all the galaxies and constellations into a certain orbit. Choik uzman nasan behem. They follow a certain set orbit and a certain time that he gave to them when they appear and when they don't appear. And shelo yishanu es tafkidam. They should not change their purpose. Sosum, they express outward happiness when the Jewish people are doing the Ratzayin Hashem. Usmeichem, they express the inner happiness when the Jewish people are not doing the Ratzayin Hashem. These celestial bodies are doing the will of the one that created them. The one that created them is Poyale Emesh Pulasin Emes. He works with absolute truth, and everything he does is truthful. However, we have a question. If everything the Eibishter does is to perfection and absolute, then why didn't Hashem say to the moon, why didn't Hashem make the moon just to be one size, not to wax and wane? God said to the moon, it should renew itself. Why? Because Ateres Teferes Lamuse Vatem. This is a beautiful crown to the Jewish people who are being carried since they were born by the Eibishter. Why? Because this is a sign to us, although we're in darkness, we're in Galus, that one day Shein Asidin Lischadesh Kamoisa, we're going to renew ourselves like the moon. And be be glorified, a glorification from our Creator, Hashem Kavod Machusai, for the honor of His kingdom. So the Eibishter will be so proud of us when that final Geula happens. So in order to give us like chizuk that it's not going to remain dark forever, that one day Kalal Yisrael will renew itself, that's our inspiration we get from the moon. And that's hence the bracha of Kiddush Levana. Baruch Ato Hashem Chadesh Chadashim. So that was a beautiful off-topic from our sugya of Kiddush Levana. Again, the many halachas you learn from them, and it's too intense to go into it. But one thing you do see is that you have to go out to nature. You can't, look at the moon and then go into the shul and say Kiddush Levana. You have to be outdoors when saying Kiddush Levana because you have to connect with the sky. Ki b'tachbulais tas l'chol mechama. If you're smart, and you take wise advice, then you can do war. What does that pasuk teach you in Mishli? Amar Ba'acha Bar Chanina, Amar Biasi, Amar Yochanan, b'mi atem moitzim mechamta shatayra. Who is the most person that can war with Torah? He could really get into it. You could have a great brain, but you need also knowledge. So b'mi sheyesh b'yadai chabila shel mishnah. If you have piles of mishnayos with you, then you can now try to be mefalpid, go deeper. But if you don't learn Mishnayos, if you don't learn plain Pshat, if you don't learn, the Gemaras first, then you can't, start coming up with new Chidushim. The way you come up with Chidushim is first you have to have Bekiyas. and then you can now try to figure out and come up with new concepts. Kari Rav Anavshe, Rav Tavuis B'Koyach Shar. An abundance of food depends on the power of the ox. An ox, if it's an experienced ox, it went through Torah, then it could come out and produce more grain, and it's a sign. You have to learn a lot of Mishnayos. You have to learn a lot, and then you can create new kedushim. Okay, the Mishnah said, "Echad oimer b'shtei sha'os." Amar Rabba Shimi Barashi lo yishon al sha'os. That if one said that it happened at 8 o'clock in the morning, and one said it happened at 9 o'clock in the morning, the Mishnah says they're good. If one said it happened before sunrise, and one said it happened after sunrise, we disqualify the witnesses. Says the Gemara, Pshita. Obviously, one said it's dark outside, and one said the event happened after sunrise. One said it happened before sunrise, and one said it happened during sunrise. So that we disqualify them. Says the Gemara, Hanami Pshita. Obviously, that we disqualify them because it's light outside during sunrise. And for the Gemara, Mao the same, maybe they both saying that the event happened before sunrise, but one of them was in a place that had a reflection or something like that, and he saw light, so he thought it was sunrise, but really he meant to say it happened before sunrise. Kamash Milan, that is the chiddush of Rab Shimi Barashi, that if one said it happened before sunrise and one said it happened during sunrise, even though they're less than an hour apart, we disqualify the witnesses. But normally, if one witness said it happened at 10 o'clock in the morning, and one witness says it happened at 11 o'clock in the morning, we don't disqualify the witnesses. Obviously, they didn't have watches back then. And then, let's say the Mishnah says that one of the Talmidim, if one of the interns says, I want to be, I have a way to find a merit and make the guy on trial not guilty, they would bring him up to the court. They bring him up to the court that day, and then we sit him back down after the court case is finished. But Tanya, we learned to Baraisa in Yesh Mamish B'Dvarav, if this guy says something that's valuable, we would never take him down from that court. In other words, we always give him a chance to be part of the 23. We don't put him back as a student. Once you're invited up to join the court, first you were a spectator and intern, and then they invited you up on the court because you raised your hand and said, you know what, I think I have something to say. They would never let you sit back down. You're on the court, you're on the bench forever. Then ein mamish b'dvarav. Even if the guy said nothing of substance, ein yared kol hayom kula. He would stay on the court, but we won't count him. So that getting up there shouldn't be embarrassing, and we're sitting him back down even before the case is over. So therefore, why did the Mishnah say that we only bring him up for that event? Amar Abaya, A'im ein mamish b'dvarav. Our Mishnah is discussing when if he shot his hand up, said that I want to speak. They brought him up to the court, and then we find out he's not saying anything of substance. So we didn't ask him to sit down. We let him sit throughout the whole day in the court and pretend like he's part of the judges. And then afterwards, we would not invite him back. So the Mishnah says that the day that they would complete the day that they would complete the judgment, they wouldn't drink wine. Yain my tamaloi. Why wouldn't the judges drink wine? When if you're doing something so secret, al yishtakr, don't get drunk, because this is very, very, you're dealing with life and death over there. So again, we didn't want them to drink. Loi ra'u mal. Let's say the Mishnah says if we have a deadlock, court, so then we would keep inviting people until it's a 71-member court. And if they're still deadlocked, so we'll see what that is. Amar Abachta, that's the question. If you brought up more judges to join the court, you started off with 23, and now you invited people because you continue to be deadlocked, and you're deadlocked at 71. 35 say innocent, 36 say guilty. Amar Ba'acha, and you have to win by 2, right? Amar Ba'acha Paitronoisa. Then we send the guy home. The Chain Amar Yochanan Paitronoisa. We'd send the guy home. Amalei Papa Labai Lifterei Miyakara. Why don't we send the guy home when they're immediately deadlocked? Why do we keep inviting? Why don't we want a deadlock court? We don't want it come out that, oh, Bezdin doesn't know how to paskin. We try to come to a conclusion, and we do our best, but the maximum that we will allow people to come on to the court will be 71. And if 71, they can't figure it out, then the guy goes home. It's a deadlock case, and he's innocent. Others say, why do we ever add more than 23? Let's leave it at 21. If there's a deadlock, that's it. Amalei. So Abaye told Rav Papa, Rabbi Yossi kaya kavasech. Rabbi Yossi will hold like what you just said. The Tanya Rabbi Yossi Omer, Kishem Shem Masifin Abezin Shel Shivim Be'echad, Kachem Masifin Abezin Shel Esem B'Shloisha. We never add. If it's 23, we're never going to add, even if they're deadlocked. 12 versus 11. We're not going to add new judges. We're going to always leave it at the number of 23. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Says the Gemara, Tan Rabbanan, Oimer Bedina Imanon is dakin edin. The Ein Oimer Bedina Nefashim is dakin edin. When the judgment is about to be over, they say that nizdakin hadin. But you don't say only by a financial case, but not by a capital punishment case. Mine nizdakin hadin. What does that mean, nizdakin hadin? Ile mekashdina. That means that the judgment got old, and we're still not finished. There's a lot more to deliberate over here. That's what you say, that it's, the judgment got old, and that's why we're stopping, but we still have way to go. So then, then you should say the opposite. You should say by dina nefashos, which is more complicated, that we wish we can deliberate longer, and not by dina mominus. Dina mominus is more easier to decide. Amalei. You're right. Turn it around. You say this word nizdakin edin by dinin nefashos, but you don't say it by dinin mammos. Ravashi says you don't turn it around. What does nizdakin mean? It means chacham dina. You're trying to say we made an intelligent wisdom judgment, like an old man, who has full of wisdom. That we make ourselves, that by dinin nefashos you have to show confidence in your judgment call, that you're ready to put the guy to death. That's what you have to announce. We judges are very, we deliberate as much as we can, and we know that we're making the right psak. Meisvei godel shebadei yano oimen is dakin adin. That the one that's leading the case, at the end of the case, he says nizdakin adin. Only the president of the court. If you understand that nizdakin means that it's basically a confidence saying we made the right decision. That's why the oldest one, the president, the leader of the bench, he's the one that makes that announcement. Kashtina, if you say it's a negative thing by saying, oh, Kashtina, we could have deliberated more, but we have to stop somewhere. So, why should we have the leader of the court say this? He's insulting himself by saying that he's not confident of his decision. And it says the Gemara, and yes, we want him to say it. You can't compare somebody who is being embarrassed by himself to be embarrassed by others. When you embarrass yourself, it's much worse. So we want the gadol to, like an act of humility, to say, hey, we could have deliberated more, but we're not going to, just to show that they're not so sure about it, but we have to decide this capital punishment case anyway. Others say, the kasha went the other way. If it's kashdina, if it's a positive thing to say nizdakein hadin, then why should the leader of the president of the court should say, make that announcement? That's something that he's like acting haughty. V'ksiv, the pasuk says, "Yahalu chazar v'leipicha," to let strangers give you compliments, but not your own mouth. If he's saying, "Oh, we made the right decision over here," so we wouldn't expect the gadol of the din, the head of the court, make that announcement. So why do we force him to do that? And says the Gemara, "Sharon milsa beidina da gadol rami." The guiding of this court is dependent on the head, the leader of that group. It's just like any case. The foreman, he's the leader of this group of judges. He's the one that's going to make the announcement that this person's innocent or guilty. So everything is really on his shoulders. So therefore, when he makes the announcement of complimenting himself and saying we were confident in our psak, we expect him to make that announcement to show the confidence of the court. Let's go start just for another 3 more minutes, as much as we can. The next parak. We are on Amid Beis. Now we're talking about skila. Nigmar hadin. Once the psak happened, let's say the psak happened. They used to, let's say, paskin at, let's say, 4 p.m, right? Moitzian oisloi. They would take him out l'sloikaloi to stone him. And remember, there's no such a thing of death row in the Jewish world. Within an hour after the psak din, they put him to death. So if the court was about him chil Shabbos, if at 4 o'clock they paskin he's supposed to be stoned, or she's supposed to be stoned, they stone him right away. Even if the lady is pregnant, right? We don't wait till she gives birth. And we stone her as a pregnant lady because there's something called inu hedin. There's no delay. Once the psak goes, they take the man out or the woman out and then give him the stoning. Bez saskila hoya chutz lebezdin. The place where the skila happened was outside of Bezdin. Not just skila, but even sreifa. You see that in the Chumash when they told Tamar, "Haitzia, get her out, and we're gonna to burn her." Shnema haitzia makalo. The Chumash says they took the guy, the person that sort of was Makalo, the Abishta, and they took him out to the skila place. Now, Echad Omer, let's just do the Mishnah. Echad Omer al Pesach Bezdin. But it takes a while to get, because let's say there's a half a mile from where the court was to where the skila place was. So Echad Omer al Pesach Bezdin, they had a man standing at the door of the court, Vasudarim biyadei, and he was holding up a flag. V'sus rochek mimenu kadesh yereyo, and there was a horse all the way that he could see it. A man on a horse, a distance away from the courthouse. The whole point was he would make an announcement to everybody outside the court. Anybody who wants to say that this man is innocent, please speak up now. The court just pronounced that he's guilty. And they're leading the guy away guilty to the Beis Haskila, which is, let's say, 2 miles away. And while everybody's schmoozing, the guy is on his way to be stoned. Let's say Echad Omer, one from the crowd, says, Yesh l'lamed olav schus. I have a way to find merit that he didn't do what he did. The guy would raise the flag. The person on the horse already had a head start, which chase after the people leading the person to be stoned to stop the whole procession and bring him back to the court, because somebody in the crowd outside the court said, hey, I have a new way to look at the case. Maybe you shouldn't stone him. Even if the person who's on his way to be stoned, he says, Yeshli lamed al atzmi schus. I could teach, I have a way to find myself innocent. They bring him back to the court. Even if he says this 4 or 5 times, he has to prove what, he can't just stop the guys leading him to the guillotine or to the Beis Haskila and say, I think I'm innocent. He has to come up with a good reason, and if he has a good reason, then the people who are leading him to be stoned will turn around and take him back to the court. So until they actually stoned somebody, it was a long, long process. Okay, we'll stop over here. The Gemara continues. So I'm just going to discuss that. Where was the Beis Haskila? Where was the house of the Skila? So let's say in Jerusalem, if the court was in the Beis Hamikdash, then outside the walls of Jerusalem, at a distance away, they would put the Beis Haskila outside the 3 machnas. You see, the machna, the Beis Hamikdash is machna Shechina. Around that is machna, the Har Habayis is machna Levia, and the Yerushalayim itself is machna Yisrael. And then after that, beyond the walls of Yerushalayim, that's where the Beis Haskila was located. Says the Gemara, Beis Haskila chutz leBezdin hava, was it placed outside of Bezdin? V'suloi. Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, the Mishnah says the ply was just outside the Bezdin's house. But Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Beis Haskila haya chutz l'shalosh machnas. The Beis Haskila was outside beyond 3 camps. So how do you say that it was? How do you say that it was just outside the courthouse when you're telling me that it was even outside the city? So the Gemara says, and you're right, Kid Kamred. It's really outside the city. Why does it say that it was outside the courthouse? Let's say they put the courthouse outside the city. Then midrabanan, we don't make the Beis Haskila right near the courthouse. We still have to push it a little further. Why? Because we need a little time from the time that the guy leaves court in order to get to the Beis Haskila. We want to give it some time before we actually stone him. So it doesn't look like Bezdin is killing people. There's a distance. They put a distance, a time lapse from the time that the court case is over to the time that they kill him. Even if the court is moved to the outside the city. And like I said, we don't want Bezdin to look as a killing type of Bezdin, and we want to give the opportunity for the guy to be safe. So again, the court, the place where they put the Beis Haskila generally was outside the city. The court was generally inside the city. However, that was in a let's say a city with a wall around it. But let's say the courthouse itself was outside the city, or the city doesn't have a wall around it. So then you would midrabanan need to push the Beis Haskila much further away from the courthouse, so to give time, so that the Bezdin doesn't look like killing Bezdin, that they, as soon as they paskin, they kill people. And also, we want to give time to try to somebody to be melamed chus, to come up with an idea that perhaps the guy is innocent and to try to save his life. How do you know midrabanan that you have to push the guy beyond the Beis Haskila has to be beyond the 3 machnas? Tarabanan, the rabbis taught, Raisa says you take the guy who did the curse outside the camp. Maybe you only push him out of 1 camp, not all 3 camps. Again, there's machna Shechina, machna Leviyah, machna Yisrael. So how do you know that the Beis Haskila was beyond the 3 machnas? So we learn it from Param HaNisrafim, from the Karakai Mashiach and Par Helen Davar Shatziba. It says over here that you take the makal outside the camp. The cows that are burnt, you burn them outside. You shecht them in the Beis Hamikdash, but you burn them outside the Beis Hamikdash. So just like by the Parman Esrafim was outside the 3 camps, so also the makal was taken to his Beis Haskila outside the 3 camps. How do you know the Parman Esrafim are burnt outside Jerusalem? So you take it outside the 3 camps, again, outside the Beis Hamikdash, outside the Parabayas, outside Jerusalem, and that's where you burn it. Maybe you only take it outside 1 camp, not outside 3 camps. By the para Eda, it says you burn it like you burn the first par, like the par Mashiach. So why does it say that you take it mechutz lamachana? It seems redundant. If you're burning it the way you burnt the first cow, so then by the para Eda doesn't need to tell me that it has to be mechutz lamachana. It's like the par Mashiach. That teaches you that it has to be burned outside machna leviyah. And then he says in the chutz machna again, badashin, you should put it on the ashes. It doesn't have to say that. So it already said that you burn it on the place where you burn the ashes. So why does it say badashin? Again, to give you to give you 3 camps. Again, so we learn it from the Param HaNisrafim, that just like the Param HaNisrafim, after you shecht them, you burn them outside the 3 camps. So also, Beis Haskila, when it says they took the makal outside the camp, it means they took him outside the three camps. Says the Gemara, "V'leilaf mishchite chutz." Let's learn it from shchite chutz. When you shecht something outside the base of Mikdash, you get an avera. You didn't bring it into the base of Mikdash. If you shecht kachim outside the base of Mikdash, even if you shecht it on the harabayis, you get kares. So malahal chutz l'machnecha. So therefore, just like that avera is outside one camp, afkan chutz l'machnechas. So also, let us say that the base of skila was just outside of one camp. So it says the Gemara, Mistavra me Parman Esrafim Havle Lamelev. We'd like to learn it from Parman Esrafim. Shekain Hoitzi El Mechutz Lamachaneh Machshe Umechaper. So it's similar to the Makalo was similar to the Makalo was similar to Parman Esrafim because it says Hoitzi by the Makalo, and it says Hoitzi by Parman Esrafim. It says Mechutz L'Machaneh by the Makalo. It says Mechutz L'Machaneh by the Parman Esrafim. Machsher. It was not, the Aveira was not done there. Actually, the Aveira was the Makalo, or the Shchita was done in the base of Mikdash by Parman Esrafim. Umechaper. And both by Parman Esrafim, the act doing it outside the camp brought kapara. So therefore, and the base of skila, well, when you're stoning somebody, it brings a kapara to him. So therefore, it's more similar. A makalel, the haitzi as a makalel. If I'm going to compare it to param and esrafim or shchita chutz, I'd rather compare it to param and esrafim. So the Gemara says, "Other rabbi, just the opposite. Mishchut chutz havelei lamev. Let's compare it to shchita chutz. Shekain adam. They're both dealing with a human being. A param is a cow. Chayte, bin neshama, pigel. So you look into Rashi. In other words, there are four similarities from shchita chutz to the Hoitzias Makalo. So let's compare it to Shchite Chutz. And so the Gemara Machsher other flame. The fact is that Shchite Chutz, the bottom line is a Shchite Chutz, he's doing an Avera. So that's not what the Makala is doing. When we're taking the Makala and stoning him, at that time we're bringing a kapara for him. So they're not similar, Shchite Chutz, to the Makala that we're stoning. I'd rather compare it to Param and Esrafim, where both are machsher. Both is a preparation for something. We're bringing them out to do a mitzvah. Param and Esrafim, we're taking it out of the camp to do a mitzvah, and we take it out of three camps to burn it outside the three camps. So also, when we took out the Mekalel to the base of Skila, we took him out of, it was a mitzvah. We're doing the mitzvah of Skila. So we took him out of the three camps to perform the mitzvah of skila. So from here we know that the mitzvah of skila is outside of three camps, and that's not just skila. It's by every type of Mises Bezin was done outside the three camps of outside Machne Shechina, outside Machne Levia, outside Machne Yisrael. Okay, we will stop over here.